You're listening to ThunderQuack Podcast Network. This is the ThunderQuack Podcast, the official podcast of ThunderQuack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's ThunderQuack time!
Hello and welcome to the ThunderQuack Spoilercast for Deadpool 2.
Woo!
I am one of your co-hosts for today, Amanda Konkin.
With her today, there's me, Ryan Caron, from the Riverdale Gang podcast, and special guest.
Hi.
This is Nathanael Vass. Hi, Nathan.
Hi, I'm excited to be here, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
It's good. You're
Just
already
like all
doing a
of
great
us.
job. You're just responding to things. So, joining us, so we brought Nathan on, should I call you Nathan or Nate on the podcast?
Nate is easier.
Nate
Fewer
is easier.
syllables.
Less syllables.
So Nate Vass is a local actor and rigger and lamp op and filmmaker and director.
He's done a lot of really great indie stuff
cool
that
stuff.
he has been a creator on, and he's done a lot of great mainstream stuff that he's been a rigger on, so he got
Yes.
to watch really cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
while
I carry
putting
heavy
light.
things around and point lights in the general direction of the famous people.
And also get some short films in international film festivals and voice some anime and stuff.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about him joining us for Deadpool 2...
Is that I worked on Deadpool 2 as a lighting technician.
So it's cool. We'll sort of talk a little bit about one of the more complex or kind of cool scenes that we saw in the film that he got to actually rig up. And also, I feel like we should plug your Beyblade stuff.
Yes!
Right? It's
We
so
probably
cool.
should.
I don't know if anybody in ThunderQuack listen or watches Beyblade.
Some of them may have
But-
children.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Beyblade is totally... So they've done the, English dub version of Beyblade.
The like third Beyblade.
Let's call it Beyblade Burst Evolution.
Ooh. Of course you know it. So if you've watched Beyblade Burst Evolution, you might recognize Nathaniel's voice.
I play the character Joshua Burns.
Ooh, what
in
an
the-
anime name.
So good.
Joshua Burns. Who's ranked third best Beyblader in the world, I might add.
At the start.
I do
assume.
love though every time we talk about this and instead of going on to more about the show, you always plug that you're the third best ranked Beyblader. That's the thing about your character that you're particularly proud of.
Key facts.
So your glorious voice, which is a professional voice, is now being lent to the ThunderQuack audience.
Woo, premium content.
Which is amazing.
Currently airing on Disney XD.
Excellent. Anything else about Beyblade you want to plug? Just that's it.
Just that. That's it.
Disney HD. I gotta get that. They're gonna come out with that new streaming service. I totally think I'm gonna get the Disney streaming
You're
service.
the kind of person to get that streaming
I
service.
am. I watch all the things.
And all your friends will come over and watch your stuff.
It's true.
None of us are getting streaming
I
service.
know.
Sorry, Disney. We are broke millennials.
Well, you don't know if it costs $3. I mean, it won't.
Yeah.
But whatever. Anyways, as per all spoiler casts, this is a spoilerific podcast for Deadpool 2. So please do not listen to the podcast if you have not watched Deadpool 2.
Everybody dies.
No, that's not true.
I mean, a lot of people die. Also, if you don't care, you can also spoil yourself.
That's
I know
true.
some people are like that.
That's true.
I
You can
won't
just listen.
judge.
You can just listen. It's great. I didn't say I'm actually from Quiver Podcast. That's where I come from. But hopefully
They should
people
know.
on the ThunderQuack group probably know that. I don't know. Anyways,
You're kind of a big deal, Amanda.
it's good. Oh, okay.
I say that
let's-
sarcastically and jokingly, but she is actually kind of a big deal as a human.
Anyway, you're my favorite, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you two are two of my favorite humans. So this will be a good little conversation.
Here's open.
So,
Deadpool.
yay! Deadpool 2.
So I just saw Deadpool. I came straight from the theater. That's where I'm coming at.
I've had a day to ruminate on it.
Yeah.
So I've been sitting on it since Saturday.
I saw it with Amanda on Saturday.
Which is good. And I mean, I thought it was fun. So I don't know, I think you have very visceral stuff for it, but it could be also sometimes I like to distinguish this, that there's like where you and how you view something.
Mm-hmm.
You watched it on a Monday night. I watched it on a Saturday night, late showing on a Saturday night.
10:45,
Yeah.
10:25,
10:25, yeah.
Saturday night show.
And so it's just like sometimes maybe there's like a little bit of difference in the audience, but it kind of also was it was kind of exactly what I wanted from it. I didn't expect anything else. I expected a refrigerator joke, like a refrigerator girl joke.
Yeah.
That was my biggest irksome thing, is that Deadpool does everything really well, except for killing off their female. Like, we talk about this all the time on Quiver, yeah.
Core fundamental driving plot point for the two dudes at the core of our team
is
Yeah, so what Amanda may have been hinting at is that I honestly didn't like the movie that much. I was entertained. I enjoyed it. I appreciated the spectacular visuals and amazing fight choreography and really clever soundtrack. But I couldn't get past that very first heart drop when they shot
Vanessa.
Marina Baccarin, and chucked the most complex, interesting woman from the first show, who is a necessary, important, positive representation of a sex worker, and just a great, witty person. They chucked her in the fridge, and they didn't. Like, of course they undid it. Yeah. Of course the time travel Deus Ex Machina undid it.
Yeah. But okay, so we talk about this on Quiver a lot, about like the idea of refrigerating women, because they do it a lot on Quiver or on Arrow, but they've gotten better at it. And that is, it comes from the idea that back in ye olden days of all the time, that they often motivate male characters by killing off a female love interest
or their family
or their family. And I think, what was it, they like killed them and put them in a refrigerator? I don't know exactly where it comes from. It was from a specific like reference that I've sometimes talked about.
Plastic Man. It's one of the late 90s cartoons where a superhero came home to find his loving wife literally dismembered in a fridge.
Yeah.
And
so it's like it's very creepy, but it's an ongoing and pervasive trope in superhero franchises. So I had
something that kills me as well is Gail Simone originated the term women in refrigerators.
Oh.
And she's also one of the core creators behind both Domino and Deadpool.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
She is infamous for writing and refreshing aspects of those characters. She introduced Deadpool's moped.
Oh, okay.
I just looked it up. Ironically, Refrigerator Girl is from Green Lantern.
Right?
No way. Oh man. Like, it seems, so the thing is, if you're gonna do it in a show like Deadpool, you need to reference it. And that was my biggest thing, is I'm like, I don't understand why they didn't. Like you put it in the like, you know, when they were doing all those like brought to you by the people who just refrigerated a girl or something.
Yeah.
Like,
except
I just
one step less direct.
Yeah.
But it's like they were trying to indemnify themselves for using a horrible sexist trope by lampooning it. But they didn't lampoon it smartly or well enough.
Yeah.
And
like
instead they played it straight while winking that they know what they're doing. And I felt just insulted.
Yeah, it was... So, honestly, from that perspective, it did... Like, because it happened so early on in the show, I had to make a conscious choice to continue watching the film and ignoring that key aspect of it. And I know that is, like... I mean, I wanted to enjoy it, so I had to find a way to. Because if I had focused on that, I would have really been disappointed with the movie as a whole. And because, like, I get that they bring different things, and it's about him never dying, and he dies and he sees her, and all this sort of stuff. But it just, I don't know, it really did bother me. And now that we're talking about it, I'm kind of like, ugh. Well,
it doesn't undo the damage of that trope. And they repeat it immediately with Cable.
Yes.
They double down with a daughter.
Yeah.
Not only are love interests being murdered, but specifically daughters.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have this father-son camp redemption arc.
Oh,
You know, it was, look at The Dark Knight. Who's most important to Jim Gordon? Oh, I'll threaten his son. There's a cowering daughter in the corner with the wife who are being ignored. It's such a recurrent dynamic, and this show does it 3 times over, and I just couldn't love it after that.
Yeah. And I don't know, it is really frustrating for me. The thing that to sort of switch it, I didn't think I would like Cable. I didn't know that much about it. I loved Cable in this. So the idea of his motivations and all that stuff, I guess aside, I don't want to put it aside, but halfway through the film, he totally like flips for me, and I'm kind of like, I totally get. I didn't know. Also, here's the thing: I didn't know about X-Force. I don't know that much from the comics. If you listen to Quiver,
nothing about X-Force.
I'm
this
passingly
about myself.
aware. I've got some awareness of the history of the spin-off series, but
But I didn't realize X-Force is Cables. I did, and so it's like that is really cool. And the other thing that I thought was really cool is the treatment of Domino. I thought Domino, in terms of like you kill one woman and you can only have the one woman per franchise or whatever it is. But if we had to sacrifice, Domino's a good person to have, a good female representative. So.
I loved Domino. I loved that they took her character design and chose to cast a black woman with vitiligo, I believe.
I think I was wondering what it was, but I thought that was really cool. I didn't know that she is a white character.
Yeah.
So that was really originally, right? And so that's really cool.
And I do love creative ways to modernize these superhero looks, and that eye look as a natural feature on her face, I thought it's not really it's kind of costume design, character design. It fit well in sort of this world of contrasting silly, goofy X-Men and their over-the-topness with the reality that Deadpool is putting in front, the more mundane realities within the ridiculous Marvel reality.
I kind of, and also because I didn't realize that was a character trope, I was actually really intrigued as to whether or not they had cast somebody that has that feature on their face. And so it was I actually did Google it afterwards to see what Domino looks like because I don't know Domino, and then realizing that it is a trait of the character. I thought that was really interesting. Along with everything that's sort of bad, you have other things. I think it's kind of interesting that they do talk about the representation of overweight individuals in superhero culture. So that was kind of a cool thing, like that they brought in. Man, now I'm all like caught up on how much I shouldn't have liked the movie, but I put a bunch of sides. But honestly, it was a specific choice that I thought they were going to redeem throughout the movie, and then they never did. I kind of expected them to deal with it at some point in time, and then they didn't. But I don't know.
I wish the lesbians had done more. Negasonic Teenage Warhead was great, but she just kind of hung out and did nothing for
Agreed.
80% of the movie.
I loved that she's explicitly lesbian. I loved Yukio. I thought she was
Yukio's
adorable,
so
and that
great,
dynamic between her and Deadpool was really adorable and consistent.
So cute.
Yeah, so good. I loved it.
And as essentially a small supporting character, she had a huge presence.
Which is great,
And a really badass moment.
Oh, yeah. And the thing, I think people are sort of tossing around, there's been a little bit of misidentification. I think Deadpool 2 is the first film to actually show a queer relationship on screen, not queer superhero characters. So there's like a difference between this. And also the idea, I was talking to my friend the other day and I was pointing that out. I was like, it was really great. There was like this great relationship between Yukio and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. And then they were like, well, you guys know Deadpool is bi, right? And I was like, no, I did not know Deadpool was a bisexual character.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
And here's the thing. Not knowing that, the Cable dynamic becomes more complicated because I thought that they were playing, like it wasn't clear to me that he was actually attracted to Cable. And if that's the choice. No, Colossus. Yes, Colossus, not Cable. Colossus, sorry.
Yeah.
Colossus. But like that was really, like they constantly, like they did that all the time, but because it was not established that he's a bisexual character, that seemed like it was making fun of that in a way that it was kind of, and so that becomes not cool.
Yeah.
But had they made it clear that he was actually attracted to Colossus, it becomes a fun element of that character. So like there's just this slight thing missing where I don't remember the first Deadpool well enough to sort of know if they ever make. He was not explicitly.
He flirts in passing as a joke.
Yeah.
It was one of my biggest complaints about the first film.
Is that
and like, to jump back to Deadpool 1 for just a second, that was like the one moment that I really wish they had like latched onto is when they're doing the love-making montage on the holidays.
Yeah.
And the International Women's Day where Vanessa grabs the strap-on and they like almost go for the joke full broke, but then they don't. They pull back. When Deadpool goes, actually no, I don't want that.
Yep.
Right. Oh, and they
at
just,
the end of that scene, and that's the end of that. It's the
becomes
joke.
Also,
that becomes the joke.
That becomes
of that
also
scene,
problematic.
Which disappointed me because comics Deadpool would have loved that shit.
Right. Man.
And he did lean into that a little bit in this film more, but it was once again not as explicit as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
All played for jokes. I'm glad to see more diverse sexualities in on film. Shatterstar is a character that has a lot of sexual identity and ambiguity in his history. Has had romances with male characters, but has never the creators have disagreed at different points whether he is asexual or whatnot as an alien. But
is he actually an alien?
Yeah,
cool.
It's his backstory.
That's awesome.
You're an alien or something.
And I, even knowing he was a ambiguously queer character, I was fine when he was sucked into that helicopter because, he was dying with Terry Crews along with the best of them, right?
Right. Yeah.
And there were 3 other, at least, Deadpool is explicitly bi to me, even though the films didn't get there. But Deadpool, Negasonic, Yukio, Brad Pitt.
No.
Once you have 3 or 4 or 5 queer characters, I'm not going to wince as much when you throw one into a helicopter.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And reflecting on that, usually I don't like seeing queer characters die. That one was funny.
Right.
And it's refreshing to get to laugh at someone like that.
Oh, see, that's right. It's one of these things, actually, that sort of is an interesting divergence, just for a quick second, into talking about generally mainstream representation. And people
if you open this door,
we'll just go down it. We'll go down it. Because I love that and we don't get to talk about it enough, is this idea why people are like, why do you have to swing this pendulum so far to the left? Why can't it just stop in the middle? And that is a perfect example, is the idea you need so many queer people on camera to even make a dent in reactions of it not being adverse, right? To the idea that the reason that I don't care if straight people die is because there's so many straight people. There's another one if that one's gone, right? But the idea that you need to sort of populate these worlds with really diverse and interesting characters so that the representation doesn't just become tokenized and it becomes just part of the narrative that you can relate to and then react to in spite of their differences, right? So if somebody is in love, you get to celebrate all these different kinds of love and it's not just the one thing you get to latch onto. Or if somebody dies, you get to experience the loss of them as a character, not necessarily just as the tokenization of what it is that you connected with. So I think that's really important.
And this growing diversity, like I was saying, Shatterstar also means I'm fine with a much richer range of narrative options for these characters because there is a happy couple, there is a contrasting option to see ourselves in, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a spectacular example of doing that diversity right, I think, as well, just pulling on general pop culture, in that they have so many diverse characters of color. From there are multiple Latinx characters, there are multiple Black characters, there are multiple queer characters, and they all have such different, interesting personalities. None of which can be reduced to their minority qualifier.
Yeah.
And I think Deadpool did do that as well.
Yeah.
With less, but still some success.
Which is one of these sort of interesting things that you have to. It becomes this barometer. Do you hold up? Do you dislike something because they didn't get the one thing right, but they got everything else right? At what point do you penalize a work of art for trying and coming close but not quite getting there, but also doing all the other things right? And it's because we have this bar that we've let ourselves lower a little bit in popular culture, that we're well, at least they did this, so we should say that it's good. But anyways, that's not a thing that we can actually attempt to answer on this particular spoiler cast, but it's something to ponder, perhaps. We haven't gotten super spoilerific yet.
Yeah.
So we can dive in. We'll dive in a little bit to things, because we're talking first of all about all of these characters.
Yeah.
Want to mention some Easter eggs, because you just saw it. You might not have gotten the chance to look at this, but did you notice Alan Tudyk in the movie? Okay.
I didn't.
So we noticed Alan Tudyk.
Oh boy.
Okay, the rednecks, when Cable comes in, one of them is Alan Tudyk, and the guy that was describing the toilet paper process is Matt Damon. In prosthetics and credited differently.
I heard the people behind me during the Brad Pitt cameo whispering, I heard Matt Damon's in here somewhere too.
Yeah. No, that's totally, so that was him. Was those two rednecks were Alan Tudyk and Matt Damon. Because it was really interesting. We left the theater and it was quite funny. Nate was well, it was great Alan Tudyk was in there, but they should have given that role to like an actor that needs the part. But it was kind of interesting because then putting in context that both of those actors are quite established actors, and it was a little like, you know, people that wanted to be involved in the film type situation.
These cameos could have been played by talented day players.
yeah.
Rather than multimillionaires.
Yeah. But it's part of the shtick, I think, and I think that's kind of cool. It allowed them to have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
And the Brad Pitt cameo, that was so fun.
Just the best.
So fun.
Second best Brad Pitt cameo.
Oh, what's the first best?
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, starring Sam Rockwell and directed by George Clooney. Check it out. It's my favorite movie.
Okay. Interesting. Brad Pitt, I don't know. Brad Pitt sometimes does really interesting things that you're kind of like, oh, Brad Pitt. Anyways, I can't remember if there's any other cameos that people are particularly...
I mean, the Stanley mural is a cute way of doing that.
There was a mural?
There was a mural of Stanley's face in one of the big establishing shots painted on a building.
Nice, because they don't actually put him in stuff, right? In the Deadpool ones.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he was in the first one either. I think it was like a thing that he's like drawn into stuff, but... Cool. Anyways, but those sort of character cameos were really fun for me. But I've already sort of talked about my favorite character being Domino. But I can't quite. I'll ruminate on my favorite moment. Yeah. But if you guys have, what are your sort of favorite either character or character moments? So for all the like things we didn't like, is there somebody that was sort of a standout character for you, or in something, or in an action or a moment that you remember that you're kind of particularly drawn to, that we were like, that moment was fun.
I mean, I have to agree with you on Domino. She was a turning point for actually hooking me into the movie, and the team assembly, I would say, was the turning point moment for me, where I actually started. It felt like a nice, fresh movie. I could cut Act 1 completely and enjoy that movie more, I think. But yeah, I loved the pastiche of these superhero characters, especially while watching in parallel shows like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage that deal with this more democratization of superpowers, superpowers on the ground, then bringing that into this camp shtick world of Deadpool. I loved that sequence and what came of it. I loved the death crash.
The death crash?
The jumping out of the helicopter and just everyone
dying
except the lucky
You sort of wondered what that, like, everyone was talking about the wind warning stuff, and you're kind of like, why are they talking about the wind so much? Like, I don't get it, but yes.
I thought that drew me in. Like, I thought they were slick and beautiful with the gratuitous violence before then, but that was the first moment of gratuitous violence that felt deeply creative.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair. Nice. The for me the Domino moment that stuck out was the like that I laughed. I remember just sort of being like, "Yep, we're going in," where she's like, "Luck, take the wheel," and just leaves the car, and it totally just works. And it was just like a great little moment where she's like, and then the fact that she then, as soon as Deadpool arrives, she goes back to drive because she realizes like the extent and the limits to her power, which I think is a really cool. And I Googled it afterwards for what it is for her power because, you know, they say it luck, but it's the subliminal telekinetic ability to arrange probability or something like that. Like, it's a very technical sort of thing that she does. And it's kind of cool. It's the idea of like probability as a scientific phenomenon that she like sort of can manipulate through sheer will. And I think that that's kind of cool, like to give it sort of grinding. Anyway, so that moment of that character.
As far as character moments go, I really liked when Deadpool lost his powers. It really humanized him for a second, and I wish that they had delved into that moment a little bit more, even if it didn't quite fit with the campy shtick that Deadpool is. But
like in the prison, you mean?
Yeah, in the prison when he's got the power dampening collar on, and you know, for a second you do realize, oh shit, he's got stage 4 cancer.
Right.
He's dying now. Suddenly, this was his life.
Right. Yeah.
Previously.
Yeah. That was the thing for me, is like when you see him throwing up in the thing, you're like, oh yeah, he has cancer. Like that's like a moment for it, which is kind of cool. I agree with you. I think that's the thing that I like about the character, is that it is grounded sort of in a way that we didn't really see it in Deadpool. Deadpool was a little bit more, like the first one was a little bit more, they just sort of didn't really deal with the cancer. It became just part of his character building. Yeah. But in this one, they deal with it a little bit more, like he deals with wanting to die and the inability to die and then cancer and like all the things that were sort of like human parts of him, more so in this one than in the first one when he actually was more human.
Since we're in the place of Deadpool's humanity and Death Wish and whatnot, can we jump to the end for a moment before filling in the middle?
Of course.
Because maybe I missed something, but didn't Deadpool explicitly ask them not to take the collar off and let him die?
Yes.
And then celebrate not being dead? Like,
He celebrated not being dead? What do you mean?
Like, so Cable burnt his remaining charge on a heroic sacrifice, but he literally stopped Colossus from ripping the thing off of his neck.
Yeah.
Like,
part of it is, I think, because he went back and he saw Vanessa. And so I'm a little confused as to how you remember things that happened in a timeline that didn't exist anymore. But
yeah, I mean, Deadpool is...
The idea of he didn't actually... There's this idea, right, that I sort of like did in my head where I'm kind of like, I struggled with that as well. I was like, what makes this different? Why doesn't he want to die? Because in the second timeline, like when he goes back, he didn't actually get shot. So like he wasn't dying. It's not like he could just leave the collar on. He didn't want to die of cancer. He wanted to die of the thing that saved somebody, and it was like a reason for dying. Him just having the collar on and dying of cancer is not the same as him having been shot. His sacrifice it's no longer a sacrifice. And that, I think, to me, was the important part of it, that he was like, I took this bullet for Russell. I'm going to die, and I'm going to let it, like, keep the collar on me. I'm not going to, like, heal myself because of this, because I intended everything that came of that. And so the idea of, I think, is part of the intention. Like, he got the sort of choice taken away from him before he decided to sacrifice himself, and because he didn't actually get shot and wasn't actually dying, the collar was now, like, the collar is not the thing that's going to kill. Like, it's a weird way to look at it, but for me, it made sense because of the way that the saving happened. Like, it's one thing to stop yourself from, it was like one thing to undo a heroic act that you just did, if it means like using your superpower, but if it's just somebody saved you and you saved somebody else, like that's, to me, that's how I justified it in my head. I don't know if that makes any sense or if it's malarkey.
Yeah, I think I'm with Ryan on this one. It was a very conscious choice in the timeline that got erased for Deadpool to finally die and like make the choice to die. It's very specifically a choice because he could very easily have been saved, but it was, I'm
without
done.
Cable sacrificing his future.
Yeah.
Well, hell, if Cable was so committed, he could have shot the collar off. And
oh yeah, that's true.
But,
why did he go back? Yeah.
Your very, very nuanced breakdown of Deadpool's psyche, I think, is solid, but I think is a whole lot more work than an audience should have to do.
Well, yes. You're not wrong.
Yeah, like, and if you need a master's in digital media to suss out how that motivation makes sense, that's a writing problem.
I mean, and not saying that the movie was without problem. I hate doing these stupid spoiler casts. If I didn't have to do these stupid spoiler casts, I would just enjoy the movie and move on. But we're here to ruin everything for you and make you think more critically about the things that you consume. Anyways.
We like some things, I guess.
No, it's good.
God, now I'm defending it.
No, see, that's the best part about these, because you see all the problems and you're like, but I still liked it. It's okay.
Oh, wait, I didn't.
But
right.
You didn't.
But you two did, and that was good.
But, okay, I understand. It's the idea that if you have time travel, you gotta use it for something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, that, to me, is the idea. I kind of like the John Connor joke that they did. I was going to say, you have to do the John Connor joke sometime. So I did like they did that. But also for me, I think part of it, and I don't know, again, this is overthinking it, but having figured out Cable's character, like halfway through, like starting to really understand and like Cable, he made that choice in that moment, I think, partially for himself. Because in going back and saving Deadpool, he makes the choice to stay and help humanity. And so for him, it's the idea that he needs a reason, right? Like, he if he doesn't do that, he has no reason to not go back to his family, right?
Yeah.
But so this idea that he knows his family is safe and his family will be safe, if there's a way for him to stay and help, like, Deadpool and humanity. Like, let's do that. So this, like, I think for him, for Cable at least, whatever his motivations are, is the idea that if you are from a future where the world, like, makes itself go to shit, you'd want to stay and help it not do that.
I have a question about Cable's motivations.
Yes.
Are they revenge, or are they saving his wife and child? Because I think his motivation was just simply revenge. And then when Deadpool actually ends up saving his wife and kid, he realizes that his whole mentality was based not on seeing them again,
right, but on punishing the person who was responsible for their death. And now that that has been taken away, the punishment has been taken away, it's almost like he doesn't want to go back and see them because his whole identity was formulated around their loss. Yeah, but his identity for the past, like, couple days. Like, I don't think that was his
whole motivation for that.
Yeah.
As the character we've met.
Yeah, as a character we've met.
But
all that we know about him.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like he's been fighting a dystopian apocalypse for a while.
And
like, he's got that vibe going on.
And so the thing for me is that, he's a soldier. Like, all those mods and all the guns and the things that are part of him. I don't know that much about Cable, but I'm sure there's part of it in there. But, like, he is a soldier. You sort of get that sense, and he's fighting this sort of horrific thing. So, yes, I get this idea that maybe, yes, he did go back just to get revenge. But then he realizes, and maybe his primary instinct kicks in, where he realizes that there's a better reason for him to be in the past than just revenge. And that's the part of him that takes over and being like, I need to stay here and fix the world.
Again, I buy these explanations. I didn't quite see it in the film in a first watch through. That I will believe that nuance may have been there. It certainly wasn't in focus. Yeah. And that is the Deadpool brand as well, right? We're rarely living in the emotional nuance in focus.
I do think it was a worse choice to bring him back. I think the Deadpool staying dead would have been cool.
Yeah. And well, an aspect of Deadpool that I do love from the comic books is his extreme metatextuality. I thought that worked a few times. There were a few camera glance moments. Start the music as a line was on point.
Right, yeah.
And to my mind, Deadpool as a character, there is no reason that him dying has to mean anything. He is so metatextual.
Right, yeah. That's
he is fundamentally metatextual.
Right, okay.
And I get, like, I enjoyed the cleaning up the timelines gags at the end. I thought that was a beautiful string of references and jokes.
Is that canon? That's my biggest question. Yeah. And, like, sort of going back and rewatching this, or, like, trying to Google stuff as I was going through, is, like, the ramifications of that are sort of astronomical.
They're kind of huge.
We're also way past canon, right? Like, we're at 3 oddly merging companies. Like, X-Men's due for a 3rd reboot any time now. I think Deadpool fundamentally lives on the edge of what is canon for anyone else anyway.
I guess so.
So therein...
The cameo that we didn't talk about is the X-Men all being in that scene.
Yes.
So
that was a great
I looked at this. Apparently, that was from the set of Dark Phoenix. So the idea that we talk about reboots, they're still in the middle of this reboot that they're doing. Like, these characters all have contracts, right? Those were the actual characters, and it is actually from, so that scene is directed by whatever the director of Dark Phoenix is or whatever. But that's how they were able to do it. So that was the first thing that, or at least according to my Google search at 1:30 at night after I watched the movie. I haven't really looked into this much further, but it makes sense to me. Like, that's how they were able to do it. You're talking about meta sort of things. The things that they could get the rights to in this movie were astronomical. Like, that is a huge deal to have those characters show up in a film. And I just, like, love that they were able to get enough sort of things going in this movie that they were able to do things that sort of mattered to fans. Yeah. Like, that was cool. And it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt Dark Phoenix in any way for those characters to make an appearance in Deadpool 2. And that's the thing that I like the most. Right?
Arguably.
Exactly.
From what I'm hearing about Dark Phoenix, from the scuttlebutt.
But with that in mind, the thing that I think is interesting is if you're going to make that choice, canonically, does this now mean Deadpool 2 is in the past history? Because he is a grown-up superhero and all this stuff has happened, and the timeline of those characters as younger, as, like, the James McAvoy's Xavier, not the Picard's one. What's Picard's name?
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. So it's not Patrick Stewart's Xavier is James McAvoy's Xavier, which makes me think that Deadpool is a 90s movie or like 80s. Like that's the interesting thing to me, and I don't know how much weight you ever put into things that are like cameos that are just there because they're there. But at the same time, I feel like it could be a conscious choice that it is these like younger generation of X-Men, and there's nothing to say that Deadpool doesn't take place that far in the past. So, anyways, I just think that's interesting, something to posit about where it actually falls in any timelines, because there was like a huge retcon after Days of Future Past, right? So stuff that gets retconned in Deadpool 2 can just easily sort of fall into that.
And now that we have Deadpool with an unlimited Deus Ex Machina time travel device, like that's the Deadpool of the comics in essence, right?
Is it really?
No, I'm not saying time travel, but the popping up anywhere, the heavy referential humor, the metatextual presence and awareness,
right?
That is in world created and well built up by giving him time travel to become the Family Guy of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah. Interesting.
Referential joke, cut to flashback.
Right, okay.
I thought they did it much better than that, but there is a comparison to be made.
Okay. Okay. Talked about best character moments. Do you have just a best action moment from the film that sort of is standout?
I mean, I can talk about the scene that I worked on.
Yeah,
here,
please do.
Which is one of my favorites in the film. It's one of the early sequences where it's basically the cocaine factory.
Yep.
Where Deadpool is fighting all of the Russian bad guy dudes, and Sergei, or whatever the hell his name is running away in slow motion.
And locks himself in a panic room.
Yeah, locks himself in the panic room. That's all one shot.
That's so cool.
It's
And
a
it was.
wonder, and
saw
it's
it,
super cool. I didn't see them actually shoot the sequence. I helped rig up a lot of the electrics for it, and then I got to see them rehearse it for about 6 hours.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah.
That's brief for that complex of a scene, truly.
It was one of the rehearsal days, one of many. They've been doing it for a while.
The thing that was cool about that is you told me that you had rigged up a scene that was a oneer, and then told me right as the scene was starting that this was a scene.
Yeah.
And that's why I paid more attention to the fact that it was one shot, and that being really cool. And it enhanced my experience of that particular scene. So I'm sort of curious as to you, Ryan, not knowing that. Did you have any particular, do you remember that scene at all that he's talking about?
Absolutely. That scene read like a dance to me.
Oh, cool.
Beautifully choreographed. Like, spectacular, impeccable fight choreo in that scene.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Nice.
Remember, this is before
the girl
we
dies.
found the fridge. This is before we opened the fridge, so I'm still completely open-minded at this point and taking it all in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, they haven't shot themselves and myself in the foot yet.
Yeah, that's fair.
I thought that was spectacular. I also really loved Domino in the orphanage. Just the punch of "I really need a school bus" was just great.
Yeah.
That was really a fun moment, and like for a character who didn't really get to feel or feature as a lead, Domino was a supporting character.
Yeah.
She really was. She still managed to have, and they managed to give her and create for her an arc that is just to the side of our core focus, but complete and interesting, and even tied back in with her power, with the luck of it, the luck that she's here. It felt Dirk Gently, but not as heavy-handed.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, watch Dirk Gently if you haven't already.
So good. Why they cancel
So
it?
good.
Possibly because the creator might be a horrible sexual abuser.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from that, also Max Landis not a very nice
Landis,
person.
yes.
Not a very nice person. We talk about it on Quiver all the
I'm alright
time.
with him being not a very nice person.
Okay.
Like
in nefarious ways.
Yeah, like in Please Leave the Village and Live Alone in the Mountains kind of ways.
Anyways.
But anyway.
But, whatever. That might be giving them a bit too much credit that that's the reason why they canceled the series, but that's okay. I feel like just that whole bus sequence for me was, like, I don't know, just the fighting it, but I don't know if that is really, the shower fight with Cable and Deadpool. Probably.
Yeah.
I just loved that because the thing that I love is the little, like, part of me that gets to be like, I knew that he was coming not for Deadpool. Like, the moment where, like, because when he's chasing both of them and they're together, I'm like, oh, it's really obvious that Russell is with Deadpool through that whole sequence because it's Russell that he's after. And so that was like a cool thing because I was like, ooh, this is interesting. What are they going to do with it? And then that it is sort of really cool that it's Russell that is the person he's after, and that Deadpool just sort of fights him anyways.
Now, I will say, by that scene, I was actually getting quite fatigued with gratuitous violence porn. By the time we were in prison, they were actually starting to blend together for me. And it wasn't until we had this much more expansive outdoor shot of the parachuting in, and the fight scenes that followed, they started to feel creative again. They started to feel narrative. But actually, up to the first third of the film, I was starting to feel stale with the over-violence.
I actually had really violent dreams on Saturday night after watching the movie. And it was a thing where it was like, I kind of woke up and felt really kind of funky, and I was like, that was really weird. Because I don't really have violent dreams very often. And then realizing that it was a direct result of watching Deadpool, because I had forgotten that I'd watched Deadpool, and then sort of had like this critical reflection as to like what's going on in my life that I would have such violent dreams, and then just being like, oh no, it's straight up because you watched 2 hours of just straight up like it was visceral this time, like in a way that like Deadpool's arm getting cut off in the first one or whatever is fine, but him being split in half in this one and being blown up in pieces, like there were just things about this one that were just particularly, so I get what you're talking about with, see, that one was okay because that was kind of comical. and I see stuff like that as putting yourself back together. Like I quite like when Nebula in Infinity War, she can always get like cracked and then she puts herself back together because she's like a technological or whatever. Maybe you guys haven't watched that, but anyways, I kind of like it. It's also because it's Caron Gillan.
Wait, Infinity War? Her. Oh yes. Is
it Infinity? No, okay, but maybe it's in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where it actually happens. But anyways, where she gets,
when Nebula.
Yeah, when she gets all cracked and then puts herself together. So when I saw Deadpool like that, I was like, oh, it's like Nebula when she cracks herself. but yeah, the violence in this was particularly, I don't know, particularly gross.
They embraced it deeply.
Yeah. But the fight, I think what I liked about Cable is that I wasn't expecting him to have the cool like holographic effects, and I like that when you can sort of integrate, because it is kind of otherworldly. Like the rest of the violence was all kind of very visceral, but stuff with Cable is sort of very specific because he has these weapons and these tools that a lot of like the shielding is mostly sort of what comes out from him, which I think is really cool. Anyway, so I just really I just thought that fight in the shower was cool.
It added a much richer nuance. The Cable's style of fighting added a layer that couldn't exist with anyone else yet introduced in the film, right? Like, we've established that Deadpool can and will kill everyone and everything. Yeah. It's fine, it'll happen. But the stakes were raised by Cable's competency and by the impenetrability of that. In a way that worked, that brought me back in. Again, during the big convoy crash.
Another cameo that we didn't really talk about is Juggernaut, totally played by Ryan Reynolds. So the thing is, with stuff that's CGI that we always forget about, I don't know who did the mocap for him. It wasn't Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds too busy to do the mocap. But Ryan Reynolds doing the voice and perhaps some of the like mocap face stuff.
Right.
But yeah, when you have a character that's completely CGI, right? It doesn't have to be. So when you say Ryan Reynolds does Juggernaut, it's also like, well, does he really though? Because it's a CGI character. But I do kind of like that because I think Juggernaut is credited as himself in the credits, which I think is kind of cool. I don't know if this isn't really relevant to a Spoilercast, but I like bringing it up. The idea of like the credits in this being particular, like not having credits at the beginning of a movie, I think is very, I feel like it definitely was with Star Wars that you got penalized for not, like you have, it's like things, you get fined for not crediting people appropriately in the head credits. It's like a WCGA thing or whatever. So
there's some question of how do they get special permission?
How do they get special permission to not credit people? Or they just pay the fine. And I feel like this is something that I feel like I'm like, whatever. I don't know what they did in this particular instance, but I kind of think it's interesting that they do get certain things that the whole world has to buy into. Even the Cineplex like write-up for when you're going to see Deadpool is just some gibberish nonsense. And I just love that everybody just gets on board with this being a sort of weird film, and it's sort of part of the marketing down to like the core of it. So anyways,
I thought that I had, well, watching this is that they were given every single thing they asked for, weren't they?
Oh.
Yeah.
And I feel like that falls right in line with this pre-credit thing.
Right, yeah.
I felt that in the technique and in the beauty of some of these shots. Those external Vancouver shots,
Oh, they're so expensive.
no one does that.
Yeah.
No one does that. Okay.
The daytime
productions that have done that.
Fair.
But the thing is, they'd set a precedent for it with the first one. I think Vancouver quite liked that the Georgia Viaduct was closed for that long for
Yeah.
Deadpool, and so they did it again for this, which I think was interesting.
This might just be because I live here as well, but I felt like Vancouver was much more explicitly Vancouver than in any other film.
Street
Down to
signs
the
all over the place.
down to the map of Vancouver at the end that all the pictures are from, and
I didn't
the
clock
shots did not make any effort in masking or narrowing, but
right.
fully embraced like, now this is the Lionsgate into Stanley Park.
Yeah.
There was no tight cuts to pretend this is anywhere else, but they left the complete topography in. That's what no one does. Is what I
That's
meant.
kind of cool, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I get that, because they don't actually ever say where they are, which is kind of cool.
They're just obviously blatantly in Vancouver to anyone who knows the city.
Nice.
And I feel like that's just the little Ryan Reynolds love letter
Yeah.
we get.
Yeah.
I do like that he's Canadian.
Yeah.
It
And
just makes me happy.
and makes the jokes.
Better,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways.
And I love Celine.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so I quite enjoy that Ashes song. Is that what it is? Like when I watched that one, because the song came out like a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I remember watching that video and being like quite impressed with it and being like, this is a great song, and it fits well with the tragedy of
The melodrama.
the melodrama of what it is, but. Which is cool. Okay, so we talk about one of our least favorite moment is refrigerating
Mm-hmm.
the Vanessa character and the daughter and the mom. But is there any other moments that sort of didn't quite hit, or that we sort of like? What is our least? Because we talked a little bit about some good moments, but is there some other moments that we could have done without in it? I don't know.
There's a tone in a lot of the humor that to me just wasn't funny.
Oh,
And it is, like, I like irreverent Deadpool. I like Deadpool making many quippy jokes. But many little quips had a hint of the vibe of, like, hey, I'm a white dude who gets it.
Oh,
Just a hint of that.
interesting.
That I was in
yeah.
Deadpool's mouth.
Okay.
Just a hint of that. No specific moment jumps out, but just a little feeling in the back of my head there, like you're still straight until otherwise explicitly shown white guy at the core of this wonderfully diverse team and center, and you're kind of pointing out how woke you are. That's like a middle-aged dude bad
that's
look.
true.
That's not a good look on anyone.
That's fair.
And I thought that there was a bunch of that, especially watching the credits at the end and seeing all these white dude names in every leadership capacity, down to costuming. I think one of the producers and casting were the three women who I saw in the top billing
crazy.
in any capacity.
I will, just because I just watched it last night, rewatching Black Panther, women made that movie. Like, you look at the credits of that, like, there's so many women in important roles in that movie, and it's one of the things where people, like, I don't know, people say what they will about Black Panther, some people love it, some people don't. They really did a good, like, it shows on screen, when you have people creating stuff in the back end, it shows on screen, like, the awesome female role models in Black Panther, I feel could not exist if Ryan Coogler hadn't empowered these other women to, like, because I'm pretty sure it's the DOP that's a woman on that show, or at least somebody named Rachel, which I think
grab the DVD.
I think
it's right next
oh
to
yeah,
you.
I have it right here.
You can read it.
I can actually read it off the DVD. If they used to, they don't put this on the DVD still, do they? Oh, it's somewhere
In
down
tiny,
here.
tiny print.
But they're all the female names that are on here in different places. Anyways.
So that tone and that lack of more diverse gaze in the creative room, the writing room, it played out in a few ways. For example, there were a lot of, like, haha, edgy jokes. All the little, like, these guys are pedophiles, or prison rape jokes that felt like, I can get away with this because I'm cool.
Right. And that's,
None of that was funny. Like, if you're going to say these are pedophiles, that's serious and we need to be explicit about that.
Yeah.
Not, these are torturing mutants. Like,
Right.
don't bring it up if you're not willing
With
to
it.
deal with the seriousness of that content. Or if you're just going to let it be, it's bad enough that they're torturing children. You can kill them for that. You don't need to make all those other jokes.
Yeah.
You don't need to make a joke about a 14-year-old being raped in prison.
Yeah, like
that didn't feel okay.
Yeah. That's fair. I'm pretty sure. Rachel.
Yeah, and I
Rachel Morrison.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
Who I didn't know it was Rachel Morrison who did Black Panther.
Yeah.
She was nominated for an Oscar last year for Mudbound.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, it's just, anyways,
Yeah.
it's just the voices, like, it's just one of those things that we talk about problematic things in Deadpool, and while they're all, sure, they are some woke white boys, they're still white boys. And so, like, that's the idea, like, I think that that's just the fundamental difference, is that there's just some things that fell a little short. We're not saying the movie needs to be vilified, that's not what this podcast is saying, right? Like, it does a lot of things right, but some of the things that it falls short on, I feel perhaps you are correct in sort of pinpointing it a little bit. It's probably because the voices behind the scenes are focused on particular things and maybe missing some of the other things. So
I also should throw the disclaimer out. We're all white in this room.
Oh, yeah.
Three of us we're
white.
yeah, like I'm queer, but I don't get the racial dynamics.
Yeah.
But through the amazing work of people like Ryan Coogler and Ava DuVernay and the spectacular array of emerging creators in the public sphere, this is I feel like I am
wanting to hold people to a higher standard of
because it can be done.
It can be done. Yeah.
It's proven it can be done so well.
Yeah.
That's
good. Oh yes, that's important. I feel like I was gonna. Oh, my point that is not like to come after you. Yours was so poignant in terms of importance for yours. Mine was just like I don't like baby legs as a joke. Like, honestly, I don't get why it's funny. Like, honestly, that whole sequence, I'm kind of like, I don't get it. Like, I'm just, like, I feel like it's been used in a couple other places, and people are like, oh, ha, ha, men with baby legs is so funny.
It's so truly creepy.
I get that it's kind of creepy, but, like, I don't find, like, it was this whole sequence, and it was long and drawn out about his baby legs. Like, the sort of the little baby hands in the first one was kind of funny, because it was, like, it wasn't the joke. In this, I feel like the baby legs was like the joke. Anyways, I don't know. So what we're going to think, I don't know.
I liked his basic instinct moment.
Okay, that was kind of cool.
While we're in the scene with Althea, Blind Al, I loved her in the first film, while acknowledging she is a horribly problematic stereotype, but I felt like they lampooned that a bit. The magical black person who exists to give you wisdom. It didn't feel nearly as bad because she was sharing the scene with Domino.
Oh, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
We had a much more diverse cast this time around, including supporting characters, and that I got to just enjoy Althea being an old, cocaine-addicted badass who just gets by.
Which is cool. I liked her, I think, more in this one because she just wasn't, it didn't seem like a joke.
Yeah.
And that the biggest thing, she was just a cast of the character.
Yeah.
Which speaking of sort of that, the cab driver's name, I don't remember what
Dopinder?
Dopinder, yeah. In the first one, he was a character that was sort of there, and he wasn't like the butt of jokes, really. He sort of had some, in this one, I feel like they didn't really know what to do with him. And it just seemed a little bit trite for how they used him. I feel like I get his, but here's the thing: the payoff with him running over the guy with the payoff at the end with the taxi it redeemed it a little bit for me because I'm kind of like, okay, this is why they were sort of talking about the whole time. Like he's sort of, I don't know. That was my.
I would have liked to experience more of his frustration and like seeing him actually go dark,
like when Peter joins X-Force. Come on.
Yeah.
Dopinder in Focus would have been nice. He did have a sidekicky feel, and that's not a great tradition of our white hero with the South Asian sidekick. That's a long established problematic tradition. Indiana Jones, Lone Ranger. It's not South Asian, but so many. But I liked Dopinder much more this film than I did in Deadpool 1. My least favorite aspect of Deadpool 1 was Dopinder's plot, because it just made me feel really uncomfortable that we are counseling this supporting character into murdering his romantic rival.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
that's the thing I liked least about Deadpool 1,
Okay, fair.
I would say. So I'm glad Dopinder got to be here still.
Yeah, that actually was a big thing for me, is the fact that he did get to... So they did carry through all these characters. And it's sort of one of these things where I'm a little bit mad that I didn't see the Marina, whatever her... I forget her...
Marina Baccarin?
But yeah, her character dying because she's not featured in any of the things. And so when she dies, I was like, oh, obviously.
Right.
Because it was me realizing, like, oh, she's not in this movie.
Yeah.
And because I kind of knew she wasn't, because there was probably... Because she's not really featured in...
Yeah.
Do you have a moment that sort of stands out as sort of an icky moment, or not quite, didn't quite hit with you, or like a lackluster?
Nothing really that we haven't talked about.
Right, fair. I guess we sort of talked
Yeah.
about lots of those moments.
Doubling back to your wonderful critique on the strap-on moment from Deadpool 1,
Right.
I like that they corrected that a little
They did.
bit here.
They did, actually.
Yeah.
Because
And
he
I
requested
appreciated
it.
that.
Yeah. So there you
Like
go.
a super
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah. That's how. Yeah, and then we're going. That's not how
I
that
think
works.
that's how that
But-
works, but we
but-
can try.
Yeah, I do like.
Like, I really love their dynamic.
Oh yeah,
Those
it's good,
those
characters.
actors have great
Yeah.
chemistry. Those characters have such good chemistry, and
Yeah, that's so fun.
like being robbed of that for crappy repetitive trope was
Yeah.
really a disappointment.
I have a soft spot for that actress as well because
Sweet Inara.
because she was Inara and she replaced Rose McGowan, who at the time I didn't quite like Rose McGowan, and I feel like as Inara it would have been weird to have Rose McGowan in that character place, so I just like
I agree.
I like Marina. Anyways, so that's cool. Oh man.
Oh, that's a thing we might need to unpack at some point, though, because Rose McGowan was probably replaced on that for really not okay reasons.
Oh, probably. Well, see, this is the problem when you have something like acting, where a bunch of reasons why you can replace somebody is because you're like, oh, they're not quite hitting this role, or they're not quite good with this cast character, and it's like you have no recourse as an actor because you're like, well, that's just the industry and being stereotyped because of the things that you're doing.
Yep.
So we haven't talked about Russell much.
Yeah.
That's true.
We can maybe, because he
liked
is kind of the main character in Deadpool 2. Like it's the movie's about him. Like it wouldn't happen if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it's interesting. I don't know. Russell's a very particular name. I don't know this character from the comics, but definitely when he was sitting outside of Juggernaut's cell, I was like, Russell's the name of the guy from Up. And I kind of it was this weird thing where I was kind of like, huh.
Yeah.
I don't know, just in terms of like a stereotyped name and sort of characterization. But I know that that's not intentional, but it was just sort of a thing that I was like, anyways.
I mean, if it is a pattern that the two boys on film named Russell in the last 10 years have both been somewhat jokey, Disney-owned, overweight young men who are the butt of many jokes.
Yeah,
that would be a bit of a weird sort of pattern.
Up was a long time ago, too.
Fair. I liked Russell.
So Firefist, I guess is his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think he might be new. I may be wrong about that. I'm much more DC than Marvel, but
Firefist as a character.
I've never heard of Firefist.
Obscure.
Like,
yeah.
I'm at least aware of every other character, down to Terry Crews' Bedlam. I've heard of them.
Oh,
but Firefist. Nah.
Yeah, Terry Crews being in it was cool.
That was fun.
And that was like very. I didn't know that he was going to be in it.
It threw me because I was binging Brooklyn Nine-Nine just last night.
Oh, no way.
But good throw.
Interesting. But because it was a thing where I'm kind of was like, wait, is he in this movie? And then of course he dies, and you're like, okay, well I guess that's why he's not in it.
That's why he wasn't on the
wasn't.
promotional tour.
Yeah. So I'm looking up a little bit about Firefist.
We're also not 100% sure he's dead. They were doing CPR on him in the background the last time he was seen.
That's fair.
You know what? Fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Out
Is Terry Crews.
of Zeitgeist, Peter and Brad Pitt and Terry Crews. I would keep Terry Crews.
There you go. Interesting. So this character is from 1986, and he was in X Factor #1. Firefist, yeah.
Huh.
So Russell Rusty Collins.
Well, there we
is
are.
a human. So he is around. He has been in a bunch of stuff. I don't know if it says though that he was if he's bad or good. Like, that's the only thing that I don't really know.
Right. It's ambiguous in the Marvel world more than most.
This is so crazy. So I think that this is actually part of, like, the movie is basically that X-Factor is alerted and comes to Rusty's aid, helping him control his powers. He comes to live with X-Factor, who are slowly gathered, a team of small mutants. Anyways.
Right. So they did like just co-opt the original X-Factor plot entirely into Deadpool.
Basically.
Like, that seems to be the making of many of the better superhero movies.
Yeah, you find something that works, and then you sort of bring it all in together.
Wait, that's a lie. Wonder Woman and Black Panther are two of my favorite things this year. Neither of those are comic book based. That's the making of some of the middling, missable movies of the last 5 years.
That's true.
That aligns with my impression, actually. Hey.
Yay.
But I do have hope for Deadpool 3. Because I suspect there will be one. And I suspect it will continue to improve in itself. I felt like this film hit the what I like to call the current corporate benchmark of diversity, inclusiveness, and progressiveness. They did all the safe things it is to do, but I don't think they broke much new territory in this film.
I think that's a good summary and sort of reaction to it. Is they did sort of what was allowable, and where white men in suits in high places could pat themselves in the back and sort of say, "Look at us, we've done well," and then maybe there's more to go, and they don't realize that. Yeah. Hopefully they do.
I also want to point out that in several canons, Colossus is gay.
Oh.
There are worlds where Colossus is gay.
I did not know this.
Yeah. So, like, I could ship that.
Yeah, that's true. And there's nothing...
If they come into Deadpool 3 and
it's totally
and
just
he's riding Colossus, this is an opening scene I am here for.
That would be the greatest.
Especially because she specifically said, "Don't sleep with Colossus."
Oh my god. Oh, and then he has to deal with the guilt of that for the episode.
Like, there you go, Ryan.
There.
Take it and run.
Take it and run.
I ship it.
Yes. I actually do, like, I feel like I had heard that Deadpool was bisexual before, but I think it didn't sit with me. But now knowing that, I just, like, yes. I kind of love that Colossus subplot, and I just think that they should have been more explicit with that.
I would have appreciated if it wasn't all jokes.
Oh, yeah, no.
Subplot. But once again, we got Yukio, and that was ironically, that was played straight.
Yeah, but she was, and I love your little air quotes. It was good.
Oh yeah, it's a podcast.
I love air quotes on podcasts, though. No, they're the best thing. Mike does it all the time. But the thing about Yukio too is that I didn't realize that she was kind of a badass superhero herself.
Right.
That was really cool. Like her costume and her like fighting was really cool. So, and I did kind of like that Negasonic Teenage Warhead is just kind of Warhead. Is that her name? Anyways, it's weird to say it out loud. It is a very weird name. But I do kind of like that she was kind of the same character, but I don't know. It was good. I quite enjoyed it. All right. So what would you like? So we've sort of said a little bit. Anything else we want to see in a Deadpool 3 movie? That we want? Maybe like the violence. They've done so much with the violence. Maybe they could do less violence. I don't know.
Just the novelty within the ultraviolence, like the creative ultraviolence.
Like creative violence, maybe. Yeah, being a little bit more creative in the violence. That makes sense.
Like I feel like the first act was a little bit of a giving us what we expect.
Right.
In that regard.
Right.
Yeah, because look at the last third. Much less ultraviolence. And ultraviolence that falls into the same vein of our big climactic fight in Deadpool 1. You know, electrocuting Juggernaut up the butt.
Right.
That's the kind of ridiculous... They straight murdered him, right? Despite the X-Men rules. But he was left underwater for a long time,
just
sizzling.
And
like they don't deal with him then after.
Yeah.
So, good keeping to X-Men rules, Colossus.
Yeah, I don't know. That's...
I guess the rules are meant to be broken.
Rules are meant to be broken.
But maybe Juggernaut just doesn't die, and that's just how they deal with that.
Like, that is kind of a Juggernaut thing that he's pretty...
He's pretty invulnerable.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was the other... So, just looking at things that the Deadpool creators like wanted, that was their thing. So to do Deadpool was the thing for the first one.
Yep.
In Deadpool 2, it was Juggernaut, because Juggernaut doesn't ever get done well in live action. Like in terms of like how he gets used. I think that I don't know a ton about that character. I do only really know how he was used terribly in
X3.
X3.
Yeah.
Juggernaut,
That's it. That was his whole part.
Thing, yeah.
So here we had I want to build a snowman moment.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was sweet.
Yeah. Wait. There were so many of those. How is that a juggernaut? How is that a juggernaut thing that you're talking about?
Slide the food under the prison door.
Oh, I want to
Bang, bang.
Okay, got
Bang,
it.
bang.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you meant the like, because doesn't Deadpool have an I want to build a snowman moment? So that's kind of me. But yeah, but I do like, I don't know. I think Juggernaut was dealt with well in this and kind of interesting and formidable.
Yep.
In a way that I don't really realize that he's that formidable. So
I would like to see a musical number in Deadpool 3.
That would be actually quite delightful.
Wouldn't it,
now that
You
you
just go
say it.
like full camp for your opening and do it as a full montage music.
good.
Yes.
So good. I'd be on board for that. That would be great.
I could use some more Ryans, like bring in Ryan Gosling.
Oh, just make it super meta.
Bring
Yes.
in, what are other good Ryans other than me? And
That's-
those other two. I don't know. Bring in a bunch of Ryans and make it the new Chris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're all
the Ryan's
retiring
gotta,
someday soon,
Ryan's
right?
gotta fight with the Chris's. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would like more women.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically my only thing in Deadpool 3. If they can sort of put a few more girls in important places.
Presumably Vanessa's still alive now.
Yeah, somewhere. Oh
Despite
that'd be
the
cool.
whole show being about that.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't erase any of that.
Nope.
Let her be alive in the credits, but
Yeah.
she'll hopefully be
They
there.
do have a time travel wheel.
Yeah.
That would be
Mm-hmm.
That's something's got to happen to break it in the next one. That's my other thing though. You have to do time travel correctly, which they did for most of this movie. But
They could
I'd like them to not use time travel in the third one.
they could use it at the beginning
Yes.
and then go somewhere and then have it up
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be okay with that.
and be like, shit, we're in Victorian England.
It would make a fine...
I had to clock at what time that was because I've got to bleep out that F word. Anyway,
I'm
sorry. Anyways, carry on.
Apologize to the censorship board.
Should I do a little clapping?
CRTC.
It's fine.
Mike
I'll
doesn't edit.
just let Mike know. Sorry, Mike.
Welcome behind the screen, everybody.
ThunderQuack. It's good. I don't know. Whatever. It's a ThunderQuack. Maybe we can get away with this. Some swearing.
So the time machine as an inciting incident for the next film.
Pride
I'd be
and Prejudice
cool
and
with that.
Deadpool.
Oh.
I mean,
No.
now we're into the Netflix originals.
Yeah.
Like, we could do Deadpool as Wishbone.
Oh yeah. No. So terrible.
No, I would watch that.
I know you would. Oh yeah, Deadpool. That's actually, if that's how it opened. If it opened with Deadpool going back through time in all these like important moments in history and sort of just screwing with them.
Photobombing.
And then photobombing, and then like looking at pictures, and then somehow the time machine just gets sort of like water spilt on it or something really innocuous, and then that's it. And that's how it was just like used for no purpose. I'd be very on board for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You gotta take the time turner and make it not a plot device anymore somehow.
Yes.
As
Somehow.
Rowling has learned the
Yeah.
hard way.
Yes. You're talking about Harry Potter, aren't you? I think they did it fine. I don't know. Everybody complains about that movie, but time travel, man. Again, if you heard me on Quiver, you know that I'm a time travel like junkie.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it took her only 2 books to realize, oh no, I can't let these continue to exist in the world. This undoes everything.
Yes, that's fair.
But Deadpool is a character who can and will undo everything, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Right?
Deadpool 3 should be Deadpool murders everyone.
Yeah, repeatedly. You know what?
Which is one of the comics where Deadpool murders literally all of the Marvel superheroes. He just murders them all. And that's one of the comics.
See,
Why?
if it opened with Deadpool in Groundhog Day, like, he could smash it himself because he's relived all of his fantasies and life no longer has meaning.
Oh, that would be
Right?
great.
So many ways to go. Yeah. So I guess, despite not enjoying this film, ultimately, I'm happy for the property. I think the property could keep doing something cool, especially with the big studio mergers upcoming. Whatever happens with the weird homunculi, Fox, and CU.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Whenever they
Weird.
figure that out, like, I think there's a place for Deadpool on top of that.
Yeah, which is cool.
Do we know what the box office numbers for this
Oh,
film have
it's
been this week?
smashed.
Staggering.
It's smashed.
Okay.
Whatever. I think it's
Well, that's
whatever the latest
unsurprising.
thing was on the Thursday opening. I think they did better than Infinity War or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know exactly what they were, and I'm not fast enough at Googling to figure it out.
Well, listeners, you all have a computer screen open right now, I bet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, it beats Avengers: Infinity War for number 1.
great.
But yeah.
As you do.
Anyways,
Keep one up in
it's
yourself, Disney.
still doing really well
Or
in
Fox, but Disney is now
yeah.
Fox also. The
It's
mouse
all-
owns
they're
it all.
all
The mouse
same
is
things.
Deadpool.
Deadpool. Oh, best joke, the Thanos joke.
Yep.
That was,
Yep.
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
Agreed.
probably my favorite joke and thing. So,
I agree.
well, wait, is Marina Baccarin a character in the? I'm sorry, she was just labeled as copycat in the when they're talking about the cast of her, and copycat is a character, is it not like a superhero?
That, you know what? That might be a deeper comics lore
This
question than I know.
must be a because so T.J. Miller, I didn't really realize this is Weasel. I didn't know that was like an
Right.
actual character.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're calling her copycat, I'm just wondering, is she actually supposed to
Interesting.
be?
If it's a little bit of a
If it's
Hellcat
a-
and Jessica Jones deal where they're slow building before she heroes up.
Well, yeah, or something like that, where I'm kind of like, are they actually gonna make her into copycat, or is she supposed to be? Is that like the character? So, anyways, Vanessa, who she is, like, if that is part of, or if this is just Wikipedia grabbing weird information and not
The thing about comic lore is there's always an option
right.
for one of the many character backstories. Like, I would not be surprised if Vanessa exists in the comics in a niche way, or in a big mainstream way that I just haven't read in what Deadpool I have seen.
Oh no, that's
yeah.
who she is.
Vanessa
Carlisle.
Carlisle.
Is copycat. She is a superhero.
Well, there we go. I mean, to be fair, in the
Weird.
comics, just about anyone who sticks around becomes a superhero eventually.
Yeah.
I'm great with her not currently being a superhero
And
on this
this
film.
is really
but-
interesting because I read about Copycat because I was reading about Domino, and in Domino's lore, there's a whole big thing where Copycat it pretends to be Domino.
Oh, good.
So that actually, if we're talking about what we want in Deadpool 3, that'd be really cool. Something with Copycat.
Vanessa and Domino, doing
yeah.
anything.
Doing anything,
together.
doing
Ideally,
interesting
amazing things.
would be cool. But anyways, that's really cool. I didn't realize that's who that was. So.
In that vein, though,
Yeah.
I'd noticed that Cable's family are credited as Cable's wife and Cable's
They
daughter.
didn't name them.
I am aware that there is not a single consistent Cable lore. You know, at one point he
Yeah.
was Scott and Jean's child, but I feel like they could have dug a little deeper and just yep, he was a Summers.
Okay.
I feel like they could have dug just a bit deeper and named them.
They totally could have. Can I just
Yes.
this is what happens when you Wikipedia in the middle of a podcast.
Yep.
So Carlisle was saved from Wilson's vengeful employers by Zoe Colden, a time-traveling agent of Lando, Luckman, and Lake, who had journeyed into the past to prevent Wilson's eventual self-destruction.
Beautiful.
So she literally is saved by time travel.
But it sounded like
That's crazy.
she was saved by a
Someone
third
else. She's saved by someone
third
else.
party who is a woman.
Also a woman,
And
yes.
Deadpool just stole that plot.
Yes. That is. And totally it's a thing where it happens before Wilson has cancer and then he breaks up with her. Like it is they're messing with this stuff, but in in true comic book movie franchise fashion, they sort of use elements of the lore and then make them into so for those that are nodding along with me going, yes, Amanda, obviously that's her. Where have you been for the last 4 years? Well, that's where I've been, on Wikipedia, deep diving into... That's how I learn about all the X-Men, is through Wikipedia. Like, after each movie comes out, I just Wikipedia all the X-Men and go down all these holes. It's the greatest.
I mean, my step one into Marvel was watching X-Men Evolution as a child.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I also have a very skewed understanding of canon.
Yeah.
Because they're all in high school in that show.
Excellent. Well, thanks, guys. I think this has been spoilerific and...
That was fun. That was my
Delightful.
first podcast.
Yay, Nathan! It's so exciting. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
That's
me.
cool.
And making me sound important.
You are important.
Yeah, and not just us.
Yeah, to like other people. So with that in mind, Nate, how could people maybe
mom.
find you if they wanted to learn more about all your cool endeavors and see your behind the scenes pictures of stuff?
Well, I'm on Instagram at Nathanael Vass. Nathanael with 3 A's.
Why don't you spell it for us?
Nathanaelvass.
Excellent. I always spell my own handle, so that's fine. Nathanael Vass on Instagram. That's cool. You can listen to watch Beyblade
Burst Evolution. Also known as Beyblade Burst God in some circles. I don't know why.
Okay.
But there you go.
So you can hear Nate be a cool
Yeah.
pompous
International man about town.
that one. Yeah. That's cool.
Wonderful.
And you can, of course, listen to me on Quiver podcast. All you ThunderQuackers, I'm sure, are aware of Quiver. You can also follow me on Twitter or Instagram. So on Twitter, I'm at Konkin, Konkin. You add an 86 to that for Instagram. I'm going to try this summer. I'm saying it in front of you guys, so I don't have to say it in front of Mike, and he doesn't have to hold me responsible for this.
He hears this, right?
Yeah, it's fine. But I'm going to try to just be a little bit more active on social media.
Cool.
I posted at
That's a
least
good
on
commitment.
Twitter or Instagram every day this weekend. So
Good work.
3-day record. We'll see
real
how it
bad
keeps
at it.
going.
Well
I'm
done.
terrible at it. I can't stand it. But I'll
Isn't
try. I'll try to do a little
Like
bit better.
a major part of your career definition?
It should.
interactive
It should
online?
be.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, but now I'm a studio brat and I don't like to do stuff outside of my studio. So,
Fair.
anyways, what about you, Ryan?
You can hear me over on the Riverdale Gang. We just wrapped our 2nd season. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Ryan M. Caron. And, okay, my Instagram is not made for this because, okay, I made Instagram when we were filming a project 5 years ago. And I'm, this is why I have Snapchat too.
Right.
Because I needed to make my phone look like a prop for this thing Amanda and I were doing. And so I needed a Snapchat account and I needed an Instagram account. So
great.
my Instagram is an old cosplay reference. Kita Ayakashi. KITAAYAKASHI.
You know you can change those, right? You can totally change your Instagram handle to whatever you want it to be.
know.
I
Follow
love
me on
that it's that.
Twitter.
I love
Follow
that.
me
Yeah, no,
on
that's
Twitter.
good. That's good. I love that. It's
Where
amazing.
you can spell it.
Yes.
Ooh, also, you can watch Young Nathaniel on iZombie on
Oh,
Netflix.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's true,
Season
that's
4,
fun.
episodes 2 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
I play Sackman.
It is quite great. And that's actually, because Quiver is part of the DC TV Podcasts network, and on DC TV Podcasts, we do have an iZombie podcast that's
Really?
part of that
Are you
group.
podcast about you? You should
They-
go on that one, dude.
We should, yeah, we can
Actually,
let the
though.
people know. That's good. Which is cool. But you're ThunderQuacker, so you know ThunderQuackPodcast.com and all that jazz. And, thank you for your support, your ongoing support, and we love it. And if you have any ideas for other cool things that you want us to do, I actually don't know if ThunderQuack has its own email, but you can email mail at Quiver Podcast because that's
It'll get
Mike
there.
and I'll get that, so you can let us know.
Yay.
Apologies, I'm not doing a good job of the ThunderQuack branding. But if everybody hasn't been to the website in a while, Nate, you're Nate. Mike did all these, just so you know, they're all interchangeable white boys.
All boys are the same to
Nate,
Amanda.
Mike,
Ryan,
She's called me
whatever.
Andrew so
so
many times.
So many times. I apologize. But Mike has done a rebranding over at ThunderQuack. I think Riverdale Gang also got a new logo, which is cool.
It's beautiful and I love it.
And some new merch is up on the website, so that's really awesome. You can get some cool things and support us over there.
I should get some merch.
Yeah, it is. I have a bunch of stuff, and it's just fun to have things that you're like,
About you.
this is nerdy, but nobody really knows because it's like a weird off-brand nerd. It's
We are the off-brand.
Yeah, I know. It's great. I love it. Anyways,
Over in Riverdale Gang, we always end with a land acknowledgement as well,
oh yes, please.
if I may. This podcast was recorded, and Deadpool was mostly filmed on the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And, yeah.
We thank them from their hospitality that is taken from them rather than given.
It's always weird to
That's
say
so
thank you for something that was taken.
Yeah.
But
It is,
acknowledging
but
that's what this land is,
Yes.
unceded
Yeah,
territory.
Yeah.
It's a step.
yeah.
Deadpool, y'all.
That's it.
Yeah.
Check it out. I guess you already have, but all right.
Or maybe not.
Or
And
maybe not.
maybe we've turned you off of it.
That's fine too.
But it's cool if ultraviolence is your thing too.
Yeah.
No judge.
Awesome. All right.
The old ultraviolence. Bye, y'all.